So here you need to find a species which is an anion. Anion means it's negatively charged. It means that the number of electrons should be greater than the number of protons so that it ends up being negative. So the only one you have is W. So 10 is greater than 9. This is an atom. Here it's the same, so it's an atom. Here you have greater number of protons. This is a cation. So it says A. Then you have to find the number of each particle in F minus. And so if you check in the periodic table, or you don't necessarily need to check in the periodic table, it's an MCQ question, and you find that the number of protons is 9 everywhere. So no need to even check in the periodic table. So proton is 9. Neutrons is 19 minus 9. So that's 10 because you have 19 nucleons here. So that's protons plus neutrons. And electrons, because it's F minus, means you have one extra negative particle. So electron is 10. So here, answer C. Find the number of electrons in Mg2 plus. This should be written as Mg2 plus. Right, so number of electrons. This is the number of protons. So protons is 12. Electrons, because you have a charge of 2 plus, means that it has lost 2 electrons. So 10 electrons. Plus, you need to remember that the electronic configurations where you have 2 electrons, 10 electrons, 18 electrons, these are the stable electronic configurations. Stable number of electrons, actually. And this is because the outermost shell will be completely filled with these numbers of electrons. Then number 4, how many neutrons are there in O2 minus? So whenever you have these kinds of questions, how many protons, how many neutrons, how many electrons, you always list down the protons, neutrons, and electrons so that you avoid any mistakes. So oxygen, you have to look in the periodic table. Oxygen has proton number 8 and charge 2 minus. So proton is 8, neutron, 18 minus 8, and electrons, there is 2 minus, so it has gained 2 electrons, so 10 electrons. So how many neutrons are there? 10. Then you need to find the isotopes. Isotopes have same number of protons but different number of neutrons. So they need to have the same number of protons. So W and Z. Which statement is correct about the isotopes of an element? They have the same mass number. Mass number is the number of protons and neutrons. This is the bigger number. And then atomic number is the number of protons only. Right? So atomic number is the smaller number. Mass number will be the larger number. So it's talking about electron arrangement, which refers to number of electrons. So if we're talking about number of electrons for an atom, means we're also talking about number of protons. So if they have the same electronic arrangement, means they have the same number of electrons, means they have the same number of protons. So this one looks good. Let's check the other options. They have more protons than neutrons. Not necessarily true. And they have same number of protons and neutrons, not necessarily true. So answer is B. What is the difference between two neutral atoms? So polonium and astatine. So let's check the number of particles for each, and then we'll look at the answers. So protons, neutrons, electrons. So protons 84, 84, 85, 85. Here the number of neutrons is 210 minus 84. That gives us 126. And here it's 210 minus 85. That gives us 125. All right. So the difference, what's the difference between the two? You have the number of protons is different, the number of neutrons is different, and the number of electrons is different as well. So all of the number of particles are different. Number 8, what is the symbol for a species that contains 15 protons? So for you to know which element contains 15 protons, you have to check in the periodic table. And if you look at it, you'll see that phosphorus has 15 protons. 16 neutrons, so then you'll have, so protons is 15, neutrons is 16, which means that the number of nucleons, mass number, would be 31. 31 on top, and then 18 electrons, which means that, so electrons is 18, which means that it has gained 3 electrons. So 18 minus 15, that's 3. So it has gained 3 electrons, so it will be 3 minus. So this is the one that represented it. For these, you can verify your definitions. And then the last question, identify the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. So you have to check in the periodic table. This is sulfur. So it has proton number 16. So number of protons, 16. Number of neutrons, that's 33 minus 16. And number of electrons, it has 2 more electrons than the number of protons. So 16 plus 2, so that's 18 electrons.